For years, my sister was the star child, while I got blamed for every broken plate. When she was caught stealing from our grandparents, the family asked me to take the fall. I sent the security footage to every family chat instead. My mom called me a traitor. I called her bluff. So I'm scrolling through my grandpa's Ring doorbell footage last Saturday to help him figure out why notifications keep going off at 2 a.m. He was convinced neighborhood cats were having turf wars on his porch. When I spot something that makes me do a literal spit take with my Mountain Dew. My sister, my perfect angelic can do no wrong sister, sneaking out of my grandparents' house at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when she was supposedly at her apartment across town. WTF. Look, to understand why this 10-second clip felt like finding the last puzzle piece to a picture I've been trying to complete my whole life, I need to give you some background. Buckle up, Reddit, because 28 years of being the family punching bag has given me plenty of material. I'm Marco, 28. My sister Erica is 31. From the moment I could walk, there's been one consistent rule in our household. Erica is amazing, and Marco is the reason we can't have nice things. Not an exaggeration. I have actual memories of being blamed for stuff that happened when I wasn't even in the same zip code. Here's the thing. I wasn't even a bad kid. Just average. B student. Played video games. Normal teenage stuff. But next to Saint Erica, with her perfect grades and extracurriculars, and that weird ability to make adults think she hung the moon, I might as well have been running an underground fight club in the basement. Some classic examples of the golden child versus scapegoat dynamic in the house of Henry and Lynn, aka my parents. 1. When I was 8, Erica knocked over my mom's favorite vase while practicing some dance routine. Mom walks in, sees broken ceramic, and immediately starts yelling at me. I was literally just sitting on the couch reading Captain Underpants. Erica never corrected her. 2. Erica failed her driving test twice, but my parents told everyone she passed first try. When I passed mine on the first attempt, they said I just got an easy instructor. Still salty about that one. 3. My sister once borrowed $200 from my savings jar for some concert tickets without asking. When I confronted her, my parents said I should be more generous and that family shares. Yet when she found out I used her Netflix login, I had to endure a 2-hour lecture about respecting other people's property. Still using her login BTW, get wrecked Erica. 4. At my high school graduation, my parents brought a single small balloon. For Erica's, they rented a freaking limo. I'm not even joking. I have the receipts in the family photos my mom insists on uploading to Facebook every Throwback Thursday. 5. The time both of us forgot Mother's Day. Erica's excuse? She was so busy with important things that it slipped her mind. My parents understood completely. My excuse? Apparently none existed because I was just selfish and thoughtless. We both ended up getting last-minute gas station flowers. But guess whose are still mentioned as so thoughtful years later? This pattern continued well into adulthood. Family gatherings were just opportunities for everyone to praise Erica's latest achievement, while asking me if I was still doing that thing, whatever I happened to be into at the time. Nobody ever remembered what I was up to, but they could recite Erica's entire life itinerary like it was the gospel. The only people who didn't buy into this BS were my grandparents, Frederick and Tracy. They lived about 20 minutes away in this cool mid-century house that was basically my sanctuary growing up. Whenever things got too intense at home, I'd hop on my bike and head to their place. No questions asked, just acceptance. Grandpa Frederick taught me about his vintage coin collection and how to fix up old electronics. Grandma Tracy always had these amazing cookies and would listen to me ramble about whatever game I was playing without making me feel like I was wasting her time. They treated Erica and me exactly the same, with love and respect. Revolutionary concept in my family, apparently. After high school, I moved out ASAP, got a small apartment with 2 roommates, and started building my own life. For the first time, I didn't have to constantly defend myself against accusations or watch Erica get praised for doing the bare minimum. The distance helped my mental health a ton. Started seeing my family only for major holidays and occasional birthdays. My roommate Raven became more family to me than my actual family. He's the real MVP who's had my back through all this. I stayed close with my grandparents, though. Visited them at least twice a month, helped them set up their new phones, showed them how to use streaming services, or just hung out and listened to Grandpa's stories about his time in the Navy. They never made me feel less than. That shit matters when you've grown up feeling like the family disappointment your whole life. Fast forward to about 3 months ago. Grandpa Frederick turned 75, and the whole family gathered at their house for a birthday dinner. I almost skipped it. Family gatherings are my personal hell, but didn't want to disappoint my grandpa. So I showed up with this vintage record I'd found at a flea market that I knew he'd love. During dinner, I noticed something weird. Erica kept disappearing for short periods. Like, she'd say she was going to the bathroom, but would be gone for weirdly long stretches. At one point, I walked past my grandparents' bedroom to get to the bathroom myself, and caught her coming out, looking startled when she saw me. She mumbled something about looking for a phone charger and hurried back to the party. Later that night, I overheard my grandpa telling my dad that some things had gone missing from his collection. A few rare coins and a small jade figurine that had belonged to my great-grandmother. He mentioned it wasn't the first time items had disappeared lately. Then he said something that made my ears perk up. He'd installed a security system the previous week because he was worried about the missing items. Nothing fancy, just a Ring doorbell and a couple of indoor cameras in the main areas of the house. I didn't immediately connect these dots. Erica was the perfect child, the trustworthy one, the responsible one. She'd never steal, especially not from our grandparents who adored her, right? But then I thought about all those times I got blamed for things I never did. How many times had Erica actually been responsible, but let me take the fall? The pattern was so established that no one would ever suspect precious Erica of anything wrong. After everyone left, I stayed behind to help clean up, something my sister never bothered to do, BTW. My grandma mentioned again how strange it was that things kept disappearing. I asked about the security system, and Grandpa said he'd installed it, but hadn't really figured out how to review the footage yet. Classic boomer moment. Buys tech, but can't use it. I offered to help him set up the app properly and check the recordings next time I visited. He seemed relieved and said that would be great. As I drove home that night, I couldn't shake the image of Erica coming out of my grandparents' bedroom with that deer-in-headlights look. Was I being paranoid? Was I just looking for reasons to think badly of my perfect sister because of all the years of being compared to her? Maybe, probably, but something felt off. The following weekend, I went back to my grandparents' place, as promised, to help with the security system. Grandma Tracy made her famous chocolate chip cookies, while Grandpa Frederick and I sat at the kitchen table with his tablet. I showed him how to access the recorded footage, set up motion alerts, and customize notification settings. Then we started going through the recordings from the past week. Most of it was boring: mail delivery, neighbors walking dogs, my grandparents coming and going. But then we got to Tuesday night's footage, 10:42 p.m. A car pulls up, Erica's Honda Civic, but parks down the street, partially hidden by a tree. 10:45 p.m. Erica walks up to the front door and uses a key to enter. She has a spare key for emergencies. 11:47 p.m. Erica leaves, carrying what looks like a small bag that she definitely didn't have when she arrived. My grandfather's face went pale. I felt sick to my stomach. We checked the indoor footage from the living room camera. 10:47 p.m. Erica enters the house quietly, looking around cautiously. 10:52 p.m. She goes directly to my grandfather's collection cabinet, unlocks it with a key, WTF, and starts carefully examining items. 11:03 p.m. She selects several coins and a small figurine, wraps them in tissue, and puts them in her purse. 11:10 p.m. to 11:45 p.m. She looks through other drawers and cabinets in the living room, occasionally pocketing small items. My grandfather sat in silence, watching his beloved granddaughter, his perfect, trustworthy Erica, stealing from him. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt vindicated after all these years, but mostly, I felt angry. How could she do this to the only people who had been genuinely good to both of us? Grandpa Frederick asked if we could check footage from previous weeks. We went back through the available recordings and found 3 other instances of Erica sneaking in late at night when my grandparents were asleep, always leaving with something she didn't arrive with. He asked me to send all the footage to his email so he could show my grandmother. His voice was steady, but I could see his hands shaking. I transferred everything, then sat with him while he tried to process what we'd discovered. He looked older suddenly, slumped in his chair with his coffee getting cold in front of him. I left their house that day with a promise to come back the next weekend. My grandfather said he needed to think about how to handle this and that he'd be talking to my grandmother first. I respected that. This wasn't my battle to fight, or so I thought. What I didn't realize was that by the time I got home that night, all hell would break loose. My phone blew up with notifications, missed calls from my parents, angry texts from Erica, and finally, the most insane group chat message that would change everything. That's when I discovered just how far my family would go to protect their golden child, and just how much they expected me to sacrifice to maintain their perfect family image. Update. I said I'd be back with an update, and holy shit do I have an update. If you thought the security footage of my sister stealing from my grandparents was wild, wait until you hear what happened next. This is the kind of family drama that makes those reality TV shows look tame. First, thanks for all the comments and support on my last post. Reading through everything last night actually helped me feel less crazy about this whole situation. To the person who asked if my sister has always been a kleptomaniac. No, she's just always been entitled AF and never had consequences. So, picking up where I left off. After discovering Erica on camera stealing from our grandparents multiple times, my grandfather and I sat in stunned silence at his kitchen table. The footage was crystal clear, no room for misinterpretation or excuses. He asked me to send everything to his email so he could show my grandmother later. I could see his hands shaking as he tried to process that his perfect granddaughter was a thief. Here's the thing. I expected him to be angry, but what I saw instead was heartbreak. That hit me harder than if he'd been raging. This wasn't just about missing objects, it was about broken trust. As I left their house that afternoon, he thanked me for helping him with the tech stuff and said he and Grandma Tracy would handle it from here. I figured they'd confront Erica directly, maybe call my parents, but that would be it. I was actually relieved to not be involved further. Boy, was I wrong. I hadn't even made it home before my phone started blowing up. First, 3 missed calls from my mom while I was driving. Then a text from Erica that just said we needed to talk ASAP. Super serious. By the time I pulled into my apartment complex, I had a notification for a family group chat I'd been added to titled Emergency Family Discussion. Look, I've learned over the years that anything labeled an emergency in my family usually means Erica needs something or Marco screwed up, so I wasn't exactly rushing to check it. I grabbed some leftover pizza from the fridge, cracked open a beer, and finally looked at my phone. What I read nearly made me choke on my pepperoni. My mom had started the chat with a long paragraph about how unfortunate events had come to light, but that we needed to handle this as a family and protect each other. Dad chimed in about youthful mistakes and how none of us are perfect. Erica sent a teary selfie, literal tears streaking down her face. Who TF takes a crying selfie? With some BS about how sorry she was and how she'd been going through a rough time financially. Nowhere, and I mean nowhere, in this chat did anyone explicitly mention what she'd actually done. It was all vague references and euphemism, classic gaslighting. If someone outside the family read it, they'd have no idea what was even being discussed. Then came the bombshell. My mom suggested that since Grandpa Frederick and Grandma Tracy were so upset about the missing items, maybe I could tell them that I was the one who took them. Her reasoning? And, I quote, Marco already has a history of making mistakes, so this won't change how anyone sees him. But Erica's reputation would be ruined. She has so much to lose. I stared at my phone for a solid 5 minutes. They wanted me to confess to something Erica did. Me to take the blame for her stealing. Me to let my grandparents, the only people in my family who ever treated me fairly, believe I betrayed them. The audacity. The absolute fucking audacity. I texted back one word. No. That's when my phone actually rang. My mom. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. After the fourth call, I finally answered, my blood practically boiling. The conversation that followed was surreal. My mom switched between guilt-tripping, manipulating, and straight-up demanding, I do this for the family. She went on about how Erica was struggling with debt from online shopping, cry me a river, how this would ruin her chances at future opportunities, and how I should understand, since I'd made plenty of mistakes, that the family had forgiven. What mistakes, you ask? Oh, the usual terrible crimes like getting B's instead of A's, having friends my parents didn't approve of. That one time I dyed my hair blue in 10th grade. You know, real criminal behavior. When guilt didn't work, she switched to bribery. They'd help me with rent for a few months. They'd buy me that gaming PC I'd mentioned wanting last Christmas. They'd make it up to me, as if you can put a price tag on integrity. I hung up on her mid-sentence, then turned off my phone entirely. I needed to think. My roommate Raven found me an hour later, still sitting on our couch, staring at the wall, surrounded by empty beer bottles. Not alcoholic levels, just, my family is trying to make me the fall guy for my sister's crimes level. I explained the whole situation while he made us coffee, because beer wasn't helping me think clearly. Raven's reaction was exactly what I needed. Straight-up indignation on my behalf. No playing devil's advocate. No but their family BS. Just solid validation that what they were asking was completely fucked up. He reminded me that my grandparents were the only ones who had consistently been in my corner, and throwing away their trust to protect Erica was not a price I should have to pay. After getting some sleep, I turned my phone back on Sunday morning to find 27 new messages. Some highlights. 1. Mom. Long paragraph about family loyalty and how sometimes we need to make sacrifices for the people we love. 2. Dad. Shorter message saying he understands why I'm upset, but asking me to reconsider for my sister's sake. 3. Erica. A novel-length text about how sorry she is, how she's been dealing with shopping addiction, since when, and how she'd do the same for me if the situations were reversed. Press X to doubt. 4. Mom again, getting more desperate, saying Grandpa and Grandma want to talk tomorrow, Monday, and they need to know what to tell them. 5. Dad again. Surprisingly, a private text just to me saying he's not comfortable with this plan, but doesn't know what else to do. First time he's ever almost taken my side. I ignored all of them and went to the gym to clear my head. When I got back, I had a voicemail from my grandfather asking if I could come over Monday evening to talk. He sounded tired. Monday morning, I woke up to another barrage of text. The family chat had evolved overnight, with everyone getting more desperate. My mom was now saying she'd tell my grandparents I had a gambling problem. WTF? And that's why I took the items. Erica promised she'd pay everything back eventually, once she got back on her feet. My dad was mostly silent, occasionally adding that they just wanted what was best for everyone. What about what was best for me? Or for my grandparents, who deserved the truth? By Monday afternoon, the texts turned nasty. My mom said I was being selfish and vindictive. Erica accused me of always being jealous of her. Only my dad maintained some semblance of decency, asking everyone to calm down. Here's the thing. They were right about one thing. I was angry. I was bitter. 28 years of being the family scapegoat will do that to you. But for once in my life, I had concrete, undeniable proof that I wasn't the problem. I texted my grandpa that I'd be there at 6, then muted the family chat. I spent the day rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd handle this. Should I throw Erica under the bus completely? Should I try to soften the blow for my grandparents? Should I tell them about the family's ridiculous request? At 5:30, just as I was getting ready to leave for my grandparents' house, I got a text from my dad. It was a screenshot of a conversation between him and my mom where she was planning what they'd all say to my grandparents. The story they'd concocted was that I had taken the items to sell for gaming equipment, but was now remorseful. They had a whole script prepared, including fake tears from Erica about how she was disappointed in me but still loved me. That was the moment something in me snapped. The last thread of family loyalty I'd been desperately clinging to just disintegrated. I sat down at my computer and pulled up all the security footage I'd saved to my cloud storage. Yes, I had kept copies. Call it 28 years of not being believed. I carefully organized it by date, added simple labels like Erica entering 10:45 p.m. and Erica taking items from cabinet 11:03 p.m. No commentary, no angry accusation, just the raw, unedited footage. Then I opened my phone and created a new group chat. I added everyone, not just my immediate family, but all the aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who had ever witnessed me being treated as less than while Erica was praised. People who had looked at me with that mixture of pity and judgment at family gatherings. People who probably believed I was exactly what my parents had always implied. A disappointment. I typed a simple message. Since there seems to be some confusion about what's been happening at Grandpa and Grandma's house, I thought I'd clear things up. Here's the security footage from the last month. Watch before coming to any conclusion. Then I uploaded all the videos one by one. As I drove to my grandparents' house, my phone started vibrating non-stop with notifications. I turned it off completely. Whatever nuclear fallout was happening in that chat could wait. Right now, my grandparents deserve to hear the truth from me directly, not through some group chat explosion. When I arrived, I was surprised to see my parents' car already in the driveway, so they'd decided to show up early and try to control the narrative before I got there. Classic. I sat in my car for a minute, trying to calm my racing heart. This wasn't going to be pretty, but for the first time in my life, I had undeniable proof on my side. No amount of gaslighting or manipulation could erase what was clearly visible in those videos. I grabbed my phone, turned it back on long enough to download all the footage one more time, in case anyone tried to claim I'd manipulated it somehow, then turned it off again and put it in my pocket. As I walked up to the front door, I could hear raised voices inside. The doorbell camera blinked at me, the same one that had caught Erica in the act. Ironic. I took a deep breath and rang the bell. The voices inside immediately went silent. This was it. 28 years of being the family scapegoat had led to this moment, and I was ready to finally set the record straight. Update 2. Final update. First off, thank you for the awards and all the comments on my previous posts. Special shout out to this person who said I should write a screenplay about my family. Trust me, no one would believe this shit if it wasn't real. So I left you all hanging, just as I was about to walk into my grandparents' house, knowing my parents and sister were already inside, trying to spin their BS narrative. My phone was going nuclear, with notifications from the extended family group chat, where I just dropped all the security footage. Strategic timing? Absolutely. I wanted to make sure there was nowhere for Erica to hide. I rang the doorbell and waited, heart pounding like I was about to fight the final boss in Elden Ring. My grandpa Frederick opened the door, looking 10 years older than he had just 2 days before. The smile he attempted when he saw me didn't reach his eyes. Inside, the scene was exactly what you'd expect. My mom, Lynn, and Erica sitting on the couch with identical expressions of controlled distress, literally the same furrowed brow. It was creepy. My dad, Henry, standing awkwardly by the fireplace, looking like he wanted to phase through the wall and disappear. My grandma Tracy in her armchair, hands clutching a tissue, eyes red from crying. Look, I'm not a confrontational person by nature. 28 years of being the family punching bag teaches you to keep your head down. But something about seeing my grandmother's pain while my sister sat there practicing her sad face flipped a switch in me. The first words out of my mom's mouth when I walked in? A warning to be careful what I said, because my grandparents were very upset about the situation. The audacity of this woman to try to control the narrative even now. I sat down directly across from Erica and just stared at her. No one spoke for what felt like forever. Then my grandpa broke the silence by saying they had received some concerning information from my parents about items missing from their home. He looked at me with such disappointment that for a second, I wondered if they'd somehow managed to convince him I was the thief, despite the video evidence. That's when I realized they didn't know about the footage yet. My parents had gotten there early to sell their story before I could show the evidence. They were really going through with throwing me under the bus. Here's the thing. My family had spent my entire life conditioning me to back down, to accept blame, to be the designated problem child. They were so confident in this dynamic that they genuinely believed I'd just take the fall for Erica, even with clear evidence exonerating me. I pulled out my phone, turned it on, and the notifications started pouring in immediately. Dozens of messages, missed calls, voicemails. My mom's eyes widened as she heard the distinctive notification sounds. She knew something was up. Without saying a word, I opened my cloud storage app and pulled up the first video, timestamp Tuesday, 10:45 p.m., showing Erica sneaking into my grandparents' house when they were asleep. I handed my phone to my grandfather. The room went completely silent as he watched. Then I showed him the indoor footage of Erica carefully selecting items from his collection. By the third video, my grandmother had moved to sit beside him, both of them watching with expressions that broke my heart. My mom tried to interrupt, saying we needed to discuss this as a family before jumping to conclusions. I ignored her and kept showing my grandparents video after video, spanning multiple nights over several weeks. That's when my phone started ringing. My Aunt Patricia, my mom's sister. I put it on speaker without hesitation. Aunt Patricia was livid. She'd seen the videos I'd shared in the family chat and couldn't believe what Erica had done. More importantly, she couldn't believe my parents were trying to blame me for it. My mom lunged for the phone, but I moved away, letting everyone hear as my aunt ripped into the situation, revealing that my parents had already called her that morning asking her to support the family narrative that I was the one with problems. My mom's face went from concerned to furious in seconds. She called me a traitor for sharing private family matters with everyone, said I had deliberately humiliated my sister out of jealousy, that I had betrayed family loyalty by not handling this discreetly. I laughed. I actually laughed, because after 28 years, she still thought she could manipulate me with this BS. That's when I called her Bluff. I told her to go ahead and tell everyone I was lying, to claim the videos were fake, to try to spin this however she wanted, because for the first time in my life, I had undeniable proof that I wasn't the problem. My dad, surprisingly, was the first to crack. He admitted they'd asked me to take the blame, said they were just trying to protect Erica's future. My grandparents looked at him like he was a stranger. Erica finally broke her rehearsed sad face to snap at our dad for ruining everything. Then she tried a new approach, crying about her shopping addiction and how she'd been planning to sell the items just temporarily to cover some debts, then buy everything back before anyone noticed. She swore she'd get help for her problem. My grandmother, who rarely raises her voice, asked Erica a simple question. If she needed money, why didn't she just ask them for help? The silence that followed said everything. This wasn't about need, it was about entitlement. My phone kept blowing up. The family chat was on fire. Cousins I hadn't talked to in years were messaging me directly, sharing stories of how Erica had borrowed money and never repaid it, or how things had gone missing when she visited their homes. Turned out my sister had quite a history that no one had connected until now. The facade was crumbling, and my mom knew it. She switched tactics, going from angry to tearful in seconds. She pleaded with my grandparents to understand that Erica was going through a difficult time, that she'd make it right, that we shouldn't let this one mistake ruin their relationship. My grandfather, who had been mostly quiet, finally spoke up. He said the stealing was bad enough, but trying to blame me was unforgivable. He looked directly at my mom and said something I'll never forget, that he'd watched for years as they'd favored Erica and made me the scapegoat, and he regretted not saying something sooner. My mom's face went blank, then hard. She stood up and said if they were taking my side after all she and Erica had done for them over the years, then maybe they didn't deserve to be in their lives. An actual attempt at emotional blackmail, in front of everyone. My grandmother, absolute legend that she is, simply said that might be for the best until they could reflect on their behavior. She then asked for a list of everything Erica had taken so they could check if anything was missing that hadn't appeared on camera. Erica refused, said she couldn't remember everything. That's when I dropped another bomb. I'd already made a spreadsheet comparing the footage with photos of my grandfather's collection from last Christmas. I'd identified at least 15 items that were missing, with estimated values based on similar items online. Total value? Over $3,000. My dad went pale. My mom went red. Erica just stared at the floor. My grandfather thanked me for being thorough, then turned to Erica and my parents. He said he wouldn't press charges if everything was returned within a week, but he also said he wanted space from them until that happened and that they should leave now. My mom tried to argue, but my dad finally grew a spine and told her it was time to go. As they headed for the door, my mom turned to me with pure venom and said I'd destroyed our family with my selfish actions, that I was dead to her. I just smiled and said I wasn't the one who stole from family or tried to frame someone else for it. Then I told her to check the family chat for all the relatives who now knew exactly what kind of person she was. After they left, I stayed with my grandparents for hours. We talked more openly than we ever had before. My grandfather admitted he'd suspected the golden child scapegoat dynamic for years, but didn't want to interfere in how my parents raised us. My grandmother cried about not protecting me more. The aftermath has been intense. It's been 3 weeks now, and the situation is still unfolding. Some updates. 1. Erica returned most of the items, but claimed a few were lost, aka already sold. My grandfather gave her an invoice for the missing pieces. She's been making small payments. 2. My mom still isn't speaking to me. She's blocked me on all social media and told relatives I manipulated the situation out of jealousy. Few believe her. 3. My dad texts occasionally. Brief messages, but he seems to be processing what happened. He admitted my mom has always controlled the family narrative, and he's questioning a lot about their relationship. 4. Extended family has been incredibly supportive. Turns out many of them always thought the way my parents treated me was messed up, but didn't feel it was their place to say anything. 5. My grandparents and I are closer than ever. I have dinner with them twice a week now. They've apologized repeatedly for not intervening years ago, but honestly, they were the only good part of my childhood. 6. My sister sent a group text last week announcing she's starting therapy for her compulsive behaviors. Not calling it stealing, of course. The cynical part of me thinks it's just image rehabilitation, but maybe she'll actually get help. Not my problem, either way. 7. I've started therapy too. Turns out being the family scapegoat for nearly 3 decades does some damage to your self-worth. Who knew? The most unexpected outcome has been the sense of freedom. I no longer care about trying to earn my parents' approval or compete with my sister. For the first time, I'm living without that weight on my shoulders. And it's honestly amazing. Do I regret sending those videos to the entire family instead of handling it privately? Not for a second. Public exposure was the only way to ensure the truth couldn't be twisted. The family system was too broken for a private resolution to work. As for my mom calling me a traitor, I've realized you can't betray people who were never loyal to you in the first place.